Hello, it's Snappy Chat time again. I'm Christine Bell, and I always love having these conversations because guess what? I think like many business owners, we can all feel very lonely in our business, right? So this is all about coming together because we go through many of the same challenges. So this is what we're here to do today, share some of the challenges, get some advice on those challenges so we can all learn and grow together. And I'm super excited because I've got a good friend of mine, Pete, in the studio today. You've been on before a couple of years ago. And I'm super excited to have you back because, you're just great at teaching B2B sales. And guess what? I saw you a couple of weeks ago, and the first thing I thought was, I got to speak to Pete. I got to ask him some questions, right? So I'm super excited that you're here today to answer some of my questions and also talk about the challenges you see in business. Royce, great to have you here. So over to you, Pete. Please tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Oh, Christine, that's a big question. I've had an interesting career, guys. I've started a few businesses. I've been a first sales hire and lived that journey of really building sales from the ground up. I've raised capital, so I've kind of done a lot of the things that people are about to do or haven't been through as small business owners. I've kind of lived the journey and have the war wounds and the lessons and all of those things from it, right? So. I specialize in that early stage. I love working with founders, small business owners, because building that thing from the ground up, from a place of, I really want to make a change, or I'm really good at this thing and I want to get it out there and share that with the world. Super important, super inspiring. And I just love playing in this space and helping founders see through those kind of roadblocks that I've been stuck at in the past myself.
Yeah, no, I love that, and that you are so committed to that as well. And I share your passion, and I understand as a small business owner as well exactly what you're talking about in terms of wanting to do something I'm really good at on my terms and in a way that I feel I can add the most value. So I think that's really important as well in terms of where we're coming from when we're selling, right? I just want to say hello to Osman as well, and Royce, say hey, Pete, say hello to you. I think one of the things as well when you start a business is that there's so many things that you don't realize you have to become almost an expert in, right?
Yep.
Whether it's technology or whether it's communication. Hey, Lisa, great to see you. All these different facets of business that most of us have not been trained in, right? And we have to kind of learn on the go many times, because as much as we can all benefit from coaches and people like you in different areas, sometimes we can't always afford it, right? Or just to get someone to do it for us, especially. So we have to learn it somewhere, right? And I think that's what you're about as well. You actually teach people, because you don't just do it for people, you teach people how to do it. Is that correct?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's all well and good to. I actually come across a lot of founders that are like, I don't have a sales background. Like, how fast can I get somebody else doing sales for me? Can I find a commission-only salesperson? Like all of these sorts of questions. And I totally get why you'd ask them. But having lived through the journey, I can see a lot of the challenges with those mindsets, right? Sales is one of those things that there is a period of time in your business that as a founder, you need to be doing the sales to establish the foundations. Now, it doesn't need to be forever. And honestly, it shouldn't be. I end up talking to founders who either try and, palm off sales too early or too late. There is a good window and a real strategy you can put behind it. So it really depends on where your business is at and all of those things as to whether this is one of those things that you hand off, or you go deep on learning, or you learn enough to get you through a phase. Like, I get it. It's a juggle.
Yeah. And I totally hear you. As much as when we start businesses, it'd be nice to just palm off a lot of the things that we don't know how to do. There is a real big advantage from learning from scratch, and having to sit and wrestle with all these things, because it brings out our different belief systems. And am I good enough? Do I dare to sell to other? Am I worthy of selling, etc.? Which is a lot of beliefs and confidence that comes with sales as well, I believe. But that's a whole nother conversation, because one of the big questions I had to you, and I think I speak for many, and maybe yourself as well, is that I've been involved in many networking events in Sydney. And I meet, hey, Jackie, so great to see you. And what I find is that lovely, lovely, amazing people like me have a passion, have skills, etc. But they're all micro businesses trying to sell to each other. with no money often, right?
Yeah.
And so the question becomes, how do I find those elusive, especially in Australia, where I think still 80% is made up of SMEs, small, medium-sized businesses. In Australia, that's between, I believe I looked it up the other day, between 5 to 200 employees, staff members. But many of them, especially the ones who are, doing pretty well, they're busy. They're not on LinkedIn necessarily that often. They're not on social. They're not coming to networking. They're just busy running a business and building. And those are the type of elusive clients I think many of us would love to spend more time with, but they're not that easy to find and get hold of. Have you seen that with your clients as well?
Yeah, well, I think I guess you're talking about sort of the networking things that you're coming across and things like that, right? Like one of the things that you want to be doing if you're investing time in networking is working out, is this actually where my ideal client hangs out? Just because there's an event on, there's networking, all of those things doesn't mean that that's the right networking event for you, for your business, with who you're targeting, right? Now, the bigger the target business, right? If you are selling to the SMB owners and things like that, well, maybe the networking is a great approach, right? And there's going to be some that are better than others and all those sorts of things, right? But the more up market you go, once you're going mid-market into enterprise, you got to start hanging out at trade shows. Yeah, your typical networking events aren't gonna be where those target audiences are hanging out, right? Yeah. Now, there are some where they might be, right? Like special interests, like if you were targeting developers or users of your product, you might be able to find meetup groups and things with those. But if you're targeting decision makers and buyers and all of those sorts of things, yeah, trade shows is probably where you want to go as you're going more up market, if you will. But of course, there's all sorts of other strategies, right? There is direct cold outreach and those sorts of things. And I mean, AI is making the landscape very interesting, where everybody's getting like AI slop, sent to them in cold. So it's working even less and less effectively, which is bringing up the importance of like more interesting out there, personalized outreach, right? So what I mean by that is, like cold calling seems to be a valuable thing to do these days. I know with a lot of our clients, we're working on sending out physical gifting stuff, things that people used to do way back when, are coming full circle because they know it's not an AI bot that's, gone and selected a specific gift that's personalized to the person you're sending it to, that's been posted to their office. We've done everything from sending chocolates to tea boxes to donuts, right? Like when you do stuff that's really clearly you put in some personal effort, people are more receptive, or at least they'll give you that couple of minutes on the phone that you need to have a conversation with them to work out if it's worth continuing the conversation, to open up that door, or to at least creak the door open enough to work out, am I playing in the right space? Is there something here for me, or do I need to pivot my targeting approach and who I'm going after?
Yeah, I love that. And I just want to say thank you, Jackie. She says, love being here and joining your events when you have time. I appreciate you so much. In terms of what you're talking about, it sounds like we're back to know, like, and trust, right? And AI is both, I guess, positively and negatively emphasizing the need for that now.
100%.
Which is really important because especially if we are service business, I know with a product business, slightly different perhaps sometimes, but there's still a personal touch, I think, that is really important in terms of, can I trust your product? Even, if I'm on Instagram, which I call Scamgram these days, I bought a few things and it's nothing like what they promised, right? It was a hoax from somewhere else in another country and you can't refund it. But besides that, it comes back to know, like, and trust. And it's interesting you're saying that with the sending out, gifts, small gifts, sort of like chocolates or whatever it is. I'm assuming that we do some research before that in terms of understanding who's working there, what type are they. It's not like sending chocolate out to everyone.
No, definitely not. Too expensive, right? So here's and I just put a LinkedIn post up about lead generation this morning, right? So if anybody wants to check that out, high level, the structure's there on that post that I put up probably an hour ago.
Yeah. And we got your link here in case people can see it so they can find you.
Perfect. Thank you. The way you want to think about it is, who have you worked with so far? Why did they buy from you? what problems were you solving and why did they buy from you now, right? Like high level, if you can break that down and then you go out and you start doing some research, whether that's on LinkedIn or there's other platforms, and I'll talk about one in particular in a moment. You go and do some research, find people in roles that look similar to those that have spent, the money on you previously. Look up the company, see if they've got, similar challenges to the challenges you're solving for your ideal clients that you've already worked with in the past. And then you're, selectively going, okay, we can find a mobile number, we can find a delivery address, we can find an email for this prospect. Okay, now let's go and do some kind of activation, like physically sending them something out, right? Because it costs money, it costs time, all of those things, and you need to be able to have a conversation with them, right? Otherwise, not much point sending all those. Not only a conversation, but you need to have a reasonable bet that they're going to be a good someone to talk to, where you can really make a difference in their world. Yeah. Now, just a quick pointer for any of you who are like, well, how do I get all those contact data information? There's actually a lot of tools out there. Most of them have originated in the Europe or the US, and they are helpful in the Australian market. But there's one that's just an absolute market leader here in Australia, in this region of the world. It's called Firmable. Firmable. So if you're looking to get the mobile numbers, the email addresses, the LinkedIn contacts, all those sorts of things of your target market, that's a great way to actually get those contact details. They've got a couple of week free trial, and it's great. You can kind of map out your market and go, all right, yep, no, there's all the contact data that I need, and now move into a subscription before you, get on that side.
That's a really nice tip. So thank you. It was Firmly. So you said
Firmable, as it sounds. Firmable.
Perfect. I wrote it down well. Thank you for that. Now, when you send out whatever gift that has been personalized, assume, so we're not sending chocolates to the wellness or the diet queens, or diet company. When we personalize it, do you send a brochure with it as well, or what do you do?
You send something that's self-identifying. Yeah, so that can be as simple as your logo on the thing, a little like message. I wouldn't be sending about all your products and services and like maybe one line describing what you do. Tops. I'd be really focusing in on, it's just you're sending something, you're giving them a little taste of like, there's a reason I've sent you this. Yeah. You're not just sending it for the hell of it. Like, there's a reason I've sent you this. I'll give you a call in the next day or two to run you through things. Some kind of little message. I don't want you sending a big long, three-page pamphlet or something, right? Like, people aren't going to read that. It's going to feel too salesy. It's like short, simple, succinct. They get a little something like, this is cool, this is different. When you pick up the phone, you go, hey, I'm that person who sent you that box of donuts yesterday. You got 2 minutes for me to just quickly run you through why I picked you specifically out to give you a call and send you some donuts?
Wonderful. And do you still have to go through the gatekeepers, like the when you call up, or can you actually with Firmable get that specific number? You know what I mean?
Well, like, it depends. Firmable doesn't have every person in Australia's mobile number, but you might put that into your early, like when you're first going out, like just go out to people you can get mobile numbers off, right? If you're finding getting through gatekeepers challenging and all those sorts of things, right? Make it, start with the lowest hanging, easiest fruit, give that a crack, validate that it works. Then you can look to put some more money and scale behind it, and where you can kind of, be a bit more flexible on your parameters.
Sounds really good. So it sounds to me even better would be, of course, we want to get their numbers and stuff, but if we can find out a little way to maybe have a contact with them beforehand at a trade show, or maybe even LinkedIn. I don't know. Do you use LinkedIn at all in terms with Sales Navigator and finding people as well?
I used to. Honestly, at the moment, I just am using the free version personally. Like, you can find a lot of detail. I mean, LinkedIn's restricting more and more things that are on the free account. So, I don't think we're far off needing to pay for it just to get the basic functions. But because you don't get contact data, use something else to get the contact data. Well, you can kind of do your searching and all of those things. Now, sending multi-channeled approaches, right? So connecting with people on LinkedIn, sending them emails, giving them calls, sending them stuff, right? You need to hit people on multiple channels, because everyone's kind of got their form of communication they default to. Some contacts, you can only get them on text message. Some people will only answer the phone, but they'll only do it at 4:00 on a Friday afternoon when nobody else is bothering them. There's all sorts of things. It depends on your industry, your market, the persona you're targeting, all those things.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And I guess we also have to take into account who we are if we are the one doing it ourselves, right? Especially if we're a small company, we have to take into account what is our way of building trust, know, like, and trust. Because we all have different personalities, and what do we feel comfortable with? Because we've got to be confident to some extent when we do it, right?
Well, I'm gonna agree and disagree with you.
Okay,
So
excellent. I love that.
I agree with you in the sense of, yes, if you're not gonna do it because it's too uncomfortable, then right, it's better that you're doing something. But often founders who don't have a background in sales, they try and do the absolute bare minimum, and it's just not enough to get breakthrough, right? Now, there is also something, particularly if you're the owner, right? If you're the first salesperson, different story. But if you're the owner of the business and you feel uncomfortable and you name that in what you're doing, hey, this feels a bit awkward. Hey, my sales coach, my marketing coach, my partner told me I need to, I feel a bit uncomfortable. Like, just tell the truth, right? Like, people appreciate and respect authenticity. And if you follow that up with something that really solves a problem for them, you're onto something. If it's not, you've been authentic. They've just gone, yeah, no, not a fit for me. Great, move on. Like the chances of you getting people like slamming doors in your face and telling you to get lost and all those sorts of things, that if you're authentic in your communication, the chances of that goes through the floor, Yeah.
Because people mostly, they understand, they've been there potentially themselves at some point, right? We understand it's uncomfortable and that has to be done. And if you're respectful and you're honest, like you said, then personality wins through too. Because I also find, especially service, if you're a service business, you kind of got to like people to some extent, right? That sort of like, do I feel like they're like me, that I'll be getting on with them as well? If I don't feel like there's some kind of resonance, I'm not going to be listening to what you're saying.
Yeah. There's all sorts of nuances that come through in outreach.
Yeah, wonderful. Now, we also talked about raising funds. So tell me about that. You got experience in raising capitals.
Oh yeah, that was a really interesting journey. Yeah. So, oh gosh, it would have been 10, 12 years ago. I went and raised kind of a fair bit of seed money to get a tech startup off the ground and all of those things. And, the way it gets promoted in the media sometimes is you raise the money and you've made it, right? And it's like, no, you've raised the money and now all your problems really begin on a whole other level, right? It's one problem in a bag mix of everything, having cash to do things, right? You've still got to perform, you've still got to get results. And I've also been the first sales hire to a CEO and founder who were raising, decent amounts of money as I was leading the sales function and that sort of thing. My generalized advice is don't raise capital if you don't need to. Like, you're giving away part of your company. Yes, not spending your own coin is, ideal, but you are giving up part of your company from day dot. Now, certainly if you're in a fast-moving tech startup and first to market and speed to market is a thing, then yeah, you probably do need to raise capital. That's the circumstance where I think it really does make sense. A lot of other businesses, there are other options out there. There's debt funding, and Tractor Ventures is a great one to look up, who've got revenue-based financing. It's a whole thing. But like, if you can't get a loan from the bank but you've got some decent revenues, you can go other options and self-funding and hustling and figuring it out. It really depends on what type of business you're trying to build. I guess from my experience, I'd reflect on all of that capital raising time as there's a lot fewer circumstances where it's a really smart move to raise capital than it is portrayed in the media, given all of the things that come along with it. So if you are looking at that path, if you are looking at getting external funding, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying really reflect on where you're trying to take the business, try and play out the next few years, 10 years, 5 to 10 years of what the consequences of that are going to be. And if that puts you in a position that you're like, the trade-offs are worth it.
Yes, often it comes with some equity. You have to give away
equity.
Yeah, of
course. But that's not the biggest, often the biggest thing, right? Like, I was in a circumstance where we probably had strong enough product market fit to build. My gut feel was about a $10 million a year business. Like, we had a really strong foundation, but we had a board that had invested. We had a board with investors who invested in the business, and their mandate was to have businesses exit for 100 million plus. So they pushed us in directions that I disagree with. Like, I didn't think that we actually had the right fit for, and it ended up really destroying the company, which really sucks because we had something that was really working, and sure, it needed some more work to get to that next level, but we'd built some good, strong foundational revenue and some good product market fit. And, you know, so there's all sorts of consequences that can come with the directives of those who put money in, not just they have an ownership stake, but their influence on the strategic direction of the company, the freedom, like the speed at which you move, you know, all those sorts of things, which again can be really useful in the right circumstances, but you've got to have the right business and be prepared to go through the challenges that do come along with that.
And it also requires some level of agreement on, you know, the equity partners and you as the driver of the business, that you are sort of seeing eye to eye on not everything, but enough to actually move forward in a way that everyone is excited about and comfortable with and believe in.
Totally. Yeah. And that you've got the right business to build from, right? Some businesses don't have the potential to go in certain directions. It's got to be a fit for the business that you're running, the target market that you're serving. You've got to have enough of a fit,
and sometimes
the strategic direction. They need to align. Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes they forget. I've worked with a few companies that have received a lot of funding, and inevitably the owners often walk out at some point or part ways, whatever way it happens. Because of exactly that, different directions, different beliefs, and whether, you know, what they build versus what the people with the money would like it to become. So it makes total sense. Christy, thank you for being here. Now, Sharifo, thank you for being here. He's asking back to sales. So I'm just going to push this out and then we'll finish up in a couple of minutes because I know you got to go to a meeting. He's a teacher and he would like to know how he can best present himself as a teacher. How do you sell teaching? Off the cuff. You got to give way more context. Who are you selling to? Like, sorry, that would need to be much more specific. A teacher selling what to who? What problems are you solving? Like, find like, use the principles we've talked about today, right? Like, find something physical that you can send to whoever the prospect is that's actually going to make them feel like it's going to be contextually relevant. I'll give you an example. We're selling to typically male, let's call it tradie style as a ideal customer. And so we're sending them blocks of Toblerone with their names printed on it. Yeah.
Very cool.
Like typical, like that audience. Yeah. Okay. There's going to be one of them that's not going to like the chocolate or whatever else, but send something specific that works for your target market. Pick up the phone, introduce yourself, and just have an honest conversation and ask them, you know, how they're going. And I've got a whole cataloging approach based on closed circuit selling by Adam Menderovich that we use in some of those outreach circumstances to really understand who someone's currently using, you know, to solve these problems, what they like, what they don't like about them, and what sort of things they'd need to see to be open to something else. So that's a very short version of that.
Wow, that's what we've got all for. So, but I think it's great. And I think, you know, depending whether you're selling yourself on a, you know, you're selling yourself for a job, you're selling yourself for as a business owner, whatever it is, even when it's capital, right? There's a level of selling that we're all doing every day, every minute when we're with others to some extent, depending on, you know, what we would like to get out of the situation. So I think it's actually quite a natural thing that we should all potentially try and become more comfortable with, right?
Sales is simply the art of asking really good questions and the process of getting comfortable with awkward conversations. If you nail those two things, have enough practice to have awkward conversations around business, stay in integrity, walk away if it's not for you, but get good at having those awkward conversations about opening up new doors and asking them what their budgets are and all those sorts of things. And you're asking questions to help figure out if something's a good fit for someone. That's the foundations of getting good at sales. Get out there, give that a crack over and over and over again and try and get better every time. Then you're heading down the right path.
Yeah. And take out any sort of personal, oh my God, I'm not good enough out of it. It's just enough people, right? You just got to go through enough sometimes.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We're going to finish up now. So obviously we got your LinkedIn here. How else can people reach out to you?
Yeah, look, guys, LinkedIn's the best. So give me a connect or a follow or whatnot. I post at least weekly on LinkedIn. Got lots of stuff going on there. Our website, foundersalessolution.com, is up there as well. We got a few sales self-assessments to see where you're at, and it'll give you a few specific tips and a whole bunch of resources on there too for founders and small business owners who are figuring sales out themselves or looking to get to hiring those first, second, third salespeople and getting your sales function moving.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I can honestly say I met you, I think 5 years ago or something. So we bumped into each other several times. And honestly, you're the one I always think about. I told you last time I saw you, I actually think about you when I think about who can I ask for help when it comes to sales. And you're always my first one that comes to mind. So I highly recommend you to everyone who's listening. So thank you so much.
Christine.
And thank you for everyone being here today. We appreciate you.
Thanks, everyone.